Well, good evening to all of you. And as I will instruct all our candidates, when you come to the microphone, you can take your masks down because otherwise we have a mute that makes things a little indistinguishable. So glad to have all of you here. So glad to have our candidates here this evening. Thank you in the audience for taking time to be informed as to who our candidates are. Thank you to those who are joining us on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. It is a wonderful thing in the 21st century that if we have this awful thing that's going on that keeps people sometimes from being together, they can still join in and gather in the information. So welcome to you. I'm Fran Milo. For those of you who may not know me, I certainly have been interested in school board for a few years. I served for 20 years as a member of the LaPorte School Board. So I'm so glad to have all of you here. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, candidates. I think I know a little bit about how you might feel at this point in time. I remember 5 of those occasions when there's moments of a little nausea, a little panic setting in, but none of you can run. You've got to just stay here. It'll be fine. It'll be good. So our format this evening is going to be a 3-minute prepared presentation by each of the candidates to tell a little about themselves and to talk about what their ideas are for LaPorte schools. We have 6 of the 8 candidates here, so we will have 6 presentations. I want to thank Pastor Dennis Meyer for being our moderator this evening. I thank Mary Freed for being our timekeeper. We have a professional timekeeper, so I feel very good about that. And thanks so much to Carrie Garwood for orchestrating all of the digital things that are going on. Appreciate that greatly. So here's just a little bit of protocol. If you note, beside the podium, you are grouped in groups of 2. Now, some of you obviously have 1 because there is a missing partner. There is a bottle of Clorox wipes that is at the base of your microphone area. When you finish speaking, would you please take a wipe and just wipe down the microphone area? Those of you who only have 1, you won't need to worry because there isn't going to be anybody else using that. And then if you'll just place your mask back on afterwards, that would be awesome. After we get through with the prepared presentations, Pastor Dennis will have 3 questions that he will ask that each of you will have an opportunity to respond to. And then at the end of that, we will let you, if you have some questions, hopefully you got a note card. Would you write down, hopefully legibly, so that I might be able to read it, and we will get as many of those questions answered as we can. Your selection this year is going to be 3. When you go to the poll, there will be 3 people that you can vote for. And so obviously you have choices to make, and so thank you for wanting to be informed. I just want to tell you, my first year I ran, there were 13 candidates, so I think you guys are getting off easy. That's all I know. So I will turn this over, please, to Pastor Dennis, and you will be introduced at the time that you come up to the microphone, and let us begin.
Thank you, Fran. Thanks for organizing this and thinking about how important it is for the public to be informed and to have a chance to hear from the candidates. I'm also, besides being the moderator, I am the usher for the evening. So I just came from upstairs ushering people in. So welcome to all of you this evening, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. And really, it's kind of that. This is a forum. This is not a debate. So we don't have to worry about some of the rules of debate. We just simply look forward to hearing from you. For the first round, the introductory comments, I'm going to start from left to right, my left to right, in the top row. Of course. And so, Brett, you chose poorly. Thanks, Fran. And then when it comes to the questions, I'm going to go from my right to the left, starting in the bottom row. So that's the way I chose before you got here, Brett. So that's the way we're going to work. So we're going to begin right now, and Brett, if you would make your introductory remarks.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brett Benversi, and I'm running for the LaPorte Community School Board. First of all, I would like to thank Fran Milo, Pastor Meyer, and Bethany Lutheran for hosting tonight's forum for candidates. I also would like to thank everyone in attendance for tonight's forum, as well as those joining us virtually. Thank you for making the effort to be informed in this year's school board election. I'm a lifelong resident of our beautiful community of LaPorte, recently married to my wonderful wife, Stephanie. I do not have any children currently in the school system, but I do have a granddaughter that will be entering in a few years. I'm a graduate of LaPorte High School and a proud Indiana University attendee. Go Hoosiers. I am currently employed as the director of the LaPorte Civic Auditorium, also the LaPorte Events Director for the LaPorte County Convention and Visitors Bureau. My love for our community runs deep, which has factored heavily in my decision to run for school board this year. I have been a volunteer for many events throughout our community, including the Fort LaPorte rebuild, assisting with the Clark renovation project through the DeCamp Band of Brothers, assisting with the Play for Jake Foundation, and I've been active with the Rotary Club of LaPorte, where I served consecutive terms as club president recently. My decision to run is based on this love. I love my hometown, I love my community, and I love all of its members. Many of the service projects and clubs I have been involved with have been centered around our youth in the community. After much thought, I could not think of a better way to continue serving my community than becoming a school board member. The importance of the school board cannot be understated in our community. We need a board that protects our most valuable asset, our children, and their education and future. We need to have an open mind, the ability to listen, and to always remember why we are on the school board, to help protect our children's education and future. Most importantly, to help have educational programs that will help our students prepare for college or entering the workforce through trade and apprentice programs. I have 4 guiding principles that will guide me throughout my campaign and membership on the school board: safety, students, education, and community. I will keep an open mind and be attentive to the needs of our students, our teachers, our administration, and our community. Our community can only be as strong as our students. Our educational system can only be as successful through hard work and an open-minded approach to all decisions. I will always keep those thoughts in mind with each and every item that comes before me when I am elected. I will work hard to improve and continue the education of our children, and I will always remember, once a slicer, always a slicer.
Thank you, Brett. Jim.
Thank you, Pastor Meyer. Can you hear me okay back there?
Let's check the mic. Go ahead, try it now.
Testing.
Okay.
Thank you, Pastor Meyer and Fran and the congregation for sponsoring this event tonight. I'm going to keep this really short. My name is Jim Arnold, and I'm running for re-election to the LaPorte School Board. My past history is I'm a graduate of Valparaiso University. I served 4 years in the United States Air Force as an air traffic controller, and yes, I was one of those people in that tower talking to the planes, telling them where to go, when to land, and when to take off. And when I came back, I joined the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department. I served 32 years on the Sheriff's Department. 8 of those years were as elected sheriff, which you folks placed your trust and confidence in me. I also served 4 years with the LaPorte County Prosecuting Attorney's Office as the chief investigator and paralegal, working specializing in homicide and child abuse cases. I served 4 years at NDOT out here in LaPorte as a sub-district manager, and I served 10 years in Indiana State Senate right here in LaPorte. And now finally, I've served the last 4 years in LaPorte Community School Board. I think it's vitally important to tell you, the things that I've been able to accomplish in life were not because of Jim Arnold. Because of that white-haired lady sitting right back there with the mask on, my wife Lauren of 28 years. She's been with me every step of the way. She's been encouraging me, and when I've had some problems, she's helped me solve them. And I've had the good times, she's celebrated with me, and I'm forever thankful for that. But what's more important is, as a candidate for re-election to the school board, I like the direction the LaPorte school system's heading in. I like what's happening. I like to be a part of it. And to tell you the truth, I left the state Senate having assurances, I was a Democrat, having assurances from the Republicans that they were not going to put anybody up against me because I worked across the aisle so well with them. I was so honored. And then next week I announced I wasn't going to seek re-election, and they came in and were getting ready to beat the crap out of me because they cleared the deck for me. But the reason was two things. I want to come back home and spend some time. I'm not getting any younger with my wife and be closer to my family. And number two, I wanted to get involved in education. I didn't like the direction of education when I seen what's happening downstate in many areas. So subsequently I came back, ran for school board, and subsequently trust and confidence was placed in me, and I'm forever thankful for that. I've never violated anybody's trust and confidence they've placed in me. In fact, my 10 years in the state Senate, I had the only 10-year span of never missing a vote in the state Senate. Never missed a session and never missed a vote. And that's because I feel committed and dedicated. When the people place their trust and confidence in you, you have an obligation and you have a duty. I am looking forward to your questions tonight. I hope that we have some good questions, some good partisanship, and I would say welcome to the other candidates here because I'm honored to be on the same ticket with these folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Carla will be next.
I gotta do my house cleaning.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Carla Vincent. I'm running for LaPorte School Board, as you know. I am not a lifelong LaPorte resident. I grew up on a farm in Pulaski County. I graduated from Culver High School. After high school, I went to Purdue University and earned a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and lived in Indianapolis for about 15 years after that. Before we moved to LaPorte, I worked as a city engineer for a community east of Indianapolis. That community is very similar to LaPorte, and I learned a lot, and I managed municipal projects of all sizes and worked with community leaders, utility managers. I worked with the local schools there to get projects built in the community. In 2017, we relocated to LaPorte, and since then I've worked for INDOT here in LaPorte. Our three kids attend LaPorte schools, two in elementary, one in intermediate school. So I have a strong interest in doing what's best and having what's best for our kids here in LaPorte. And I thought, what better way than to run for school board and have a vested interest from the board side. I feel that my experience is perfect for what LaPorte schools need. Some of the facilities need work, and just working with community leaders. And I look forward to your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyleen.
I won't have any housekeeping to do. All right. Good evening, and thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here with us this evening, whether in person or virtually. Your continued commitment to staying informed during this race is really appreciated by so many of us up here. My name is Kyleen Fuller. My husband, Bob, and I have been married for 15 years, and we have a freshman and a fifth grader. I became a stay-at-home mom for the first time in my life just this past April. Previous to that, I was the owner and operator of Helping Hands Daycare LLC for 6 years here in LaPorte. And before that, I spent 4 years in the Weld Department at Howmet, which is now Alcoa. Both of these jobs were made possible for me by the education and the training that I received through career and technical education given by the Indiana Workforce and Development. I was born in Texarkana, Texas, and by the time I was 5, I had already lived in 3 states, finally landing in Chicago for all-day kindergarten. When I was in first grade, we moved to Westville, so I attended school there for a year. When I was in second grade, we finally entered the LaPorte Community School Corporation, and from second till 5th grade, I attended 3 of our elementary schools, Lincoln, Kingsbury, and Hanley. Attending 5 schools in 6 years helped me form a deep understanding of the community issues that affect our schools because they affect our students. Because of food insecurity, housing insecurity, and general migration within the community due to living standards, we in LaPorte are deeply rooted to these issues. I am happy to say that our school corporation is taking steps to educate the entire student, but we must do better, and we have to do better now. In 2018, 31% of the children living within the city limits were living below the poverty level, ages 6 through 11. 31% of our kids, 6 to 11. These children are expected to come to school every single day and to learn and to achieve the same way that their peers do, often without consistent support from a system that they have no other choice but to depend on. As a member of this board, I will work hard with our corporation to reestablish and expand our community relationships and to help ensure our community resources are not only being used, but are being highlighted as a strength for our corporation. We are supporting the entire student, and that is important. As an active PTO and PTA member for the last 9 years, I know what kind of gem of a community, of a corporation that we have. I know that we employ some of the smartest, most hardworking, most creative employees around, and we need to support them. There are so many ways that we can do that so that we can help them support the entire student. I thank you very much for your time and your consideration tonight.
Thank you, Kyleen. Sarah.
Good evening, LaPorte parents, teachers, school staff, and community members. You are here because you care about our schools, and so do I. I moved here from Chicago about 8 years ago, and I fell in love with LaPorte. I was a teacher at LaPorte High School for 4 years, so I have personal inside experience of our educational system. I have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction and an expertise that I am eager to bring to the school board here. I currently work coaching dozens of teachers in digital learning, which has become the foundation of an unprecedented style of lesson planning since COVID-19 struck last March. I know what teachers and students struggle with because I see it every day as part of my job. Today, I am asking for the privilege to use my knowledge to enhance LaPorte schools. Communication and transparency has definitely been a concern for the school system. Too often have decisions been made without the input of those who would most be affected. This is something I would like to look into. I propose that school board members regularly have open meetings with community members to discuss problems and brainstorm solutions together. To find solutions, we all need to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. We need to remember that our school system is not about money or budgets, it's about people. Do parents have the tools they need to ensure their students' success? Have we created an environment that allows teachers to stay focused on learning? Do support staff have the hours, facilities, and tools to make sure our schools function properly? The school board can't know the answer to these questions unless they talk to people. This evening, I encourage you to listen to all of our ideas, but also to watch how each candidate interacts with each other. Those of us who are elected will have to work with each other, as well as school administrators, to make decisions that affect this community's children. Consider this. I'm humble enough to admit that I may not know all the needs in this community, so I'm eager to listen to stakeholders like our fantastic bus drivers, who know their needs better than I do. I'm also flexible enough to work collaboratively with others to find solutions, and I value the input of every person involved with our schools. Many of you may not know me, and that's okay, because I'm not relying on name recognition or connections with various groups or backroom deals for this election. I'm here solely on the basis of my ideas and my strengths and my willingness to work with others. All of my decisions, if I were elected for school board, would be based solely on what I truly believe is in the best interest of our students, parents, teachers, and staff. I hope that I convince you by the end of this evening that if you vote for me, you will be taking a step in the right direction.
Thank you. Marie.
Good evening. Thank you, Fran, for inviting me tonight. Thank you for hosting this wonderful event. And thank all of you for showing up and having an interest in the school board. My name is Marie Gilliland. I grew up here in LaPorte, Indiana. My maiden name was Benjamin, so I know some of you individuals from school years ago. I am married to the same person I've been married to for 40 years, very similar to some of the other individuals here. When I graduated from Indiana University, I came back in an effort to give back to my community. This community has given me a great deal over the years. My husband is also a graduate of LaPorte High School. I have 3 children that are graduates of LaPorte High School, and I have 3 grandchildren that also attend LaPorte Community Schools now. My husband and I own a small horse farm just south of town, and on that farm we allow 4-H'ers for the most part to have their horses kept there. So we're very interested in other things outside of the educational process to keep kids interested. I ran for school board 8 years ago in an effort to make the school corporation better in every way, shape, and form that we could. It was a very controversial time in the school corporation, and I think over the years I found that, working collaboratively, as you say, Sarah, with others helps to push things forward. And I think that we've done a very good job on the school board there. I am currently serving as the president of the school board, and Jim obviously serves with me along with Rhonda, who is another candidate. And we actually have a very collaborative group right now at the school board level. But I think that there's always room for new ideas and things to create and make things better. So I see another school board member back. I see Shannon. I also see Mr. Kosher back there. I can recognize them through their mask. But I'm continuing to run for school board to just continue our progress that we've made over the last 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Now we move to the question section, and what I'm going to do is just ask one question, let you go through the group, and then ask the other, rather than asking all 3 questions and letting you all figure out what your answers are on the other 2. So we'll do it a little bit like this. Everybody gets a chance to speak to these. So I'm going to begin, Kyleen, with you. And the first question is, do you have 2 or 3 educational priorities?
So I would say that one of my big priorities is social emotional learning. We have done an excellent job recently implementing social emotional learning in many areas of our school corporation. We have Slicer Support Services, who are offering many support groups and different counseling services. But we've also started teaching lessons in Slicer Resource Time, as well as at our elementary and middle school level, just letting the children understand a little bit more about how they can deal with everyday type of things. So that would definitely be a huge priority for me. The other priority is accountability for our community resources. We have a tremendous amount of resources offered by many, many partners within our community. And it's really important that we understand where that money needs to go, what it needs to be used for. So that would definitely be a top priority as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you. Well, based on my background and my experience in digital learning, one of my emphasis for sure would be to look into digital learning in LaPorte and how we can support that further. It's not just about the tools and the technology. Do we have IT fixing things that are wrong? But it's also, do we have the instructional support that teachers need to use it on a daily basis? Is there someone in the building that they know they can go to if they need help, or they want to, completely re-envision their lessons to incorporate digital learning in this time? Another thing I would stress is transparency. There was a gentleman last night at the school board meeting who said that he had a very difficult time finding our 2021 budget, and that's something I would love to look into, changing the website so that way anything that's important is found right on the school board website with links to all of the important information and presentations. So those are just a couple of things I would look into.
Okay, thank you. Marie?
Over the last few years, we've tried to develop additional curriculum within the school system, and we try to be very supportive of those principals, assistant principals, that bring forth ideas for curriculum. we are a farming community. So one of the things that we did was we developed an agricultural curriculum. So that was a big push as well. And then, of course, we also worked to develop the Performing Arts Center. Again, that brings other kids' involvement into the school system. And I think as long as you have kids involved in something other than just school, they tend to have a little bit more of a loyalty to going to school and working on their classroom work. So.
Very good. Brett.
Well, I would say first and foremost, I think the technological background and the infrastructure for the school system is something we need to focus on, especially with what we've seen in today's times. LaPorte schools have done a great job of being ahead and building infrastructure and taking care of building maintenance, but I think we need to look at the ability of up-to-date laptops, wireless connectivity, which I know Mr. Tonigal addressed a little bit with conglomeration or collaboration, I'm sorry, with Verizon Wireless here in town. In addition to the technological aspect, I would say that we need to work on our ability to focus on the vocational programs and make sure that we're not just spending all of our time on college curriculum, that we have a lot of students that will go into other areas. And I know Marie already echoed the same sentiments.
Thank you. Jim.
Well, thank you. Far and away, the priority for me is pay and compensation to our employees. Our teachers, our bus drivers, all the employees that work for us, pay and retention. We have to keep these people employed, keep them in our local systems. That would be number one, far and away. Number two is we have to make sure we have the proper facilities and technology to meet the standards of today's world. Technology has far and away left me in the dust. I understand that. I'm the first to admit it. But with the young people today, we have to make sure that they have the proper equipment and the proper environment for learning. We have to return control of the classrooms to the teachers, And finally, I like what's happening in LaPorte. The mayor has made the stance that we're going to grow by 30,000 to 30,000 by 2030, and I support that. And that means that we're going to have to look to the future, not yesterday, not today, the future, and make sure they're provided for. Thank you.
Thank you. Carla.
No, it's fine, it's fine. I think one of the top priorities is gonna be to make sure that all students have equal opportunities among all elementary schools, especially because there are so many, to make sure that resources are there for the teachers and the students to make sure everybody has what they need to do, especially today, like we talked about with, having, we have, it's a one-to-one school, so everybody has a Chromebook or an iPad, but we need to make sure we have wireless connectivity in all the houses too, not just at the schools, to make sure that the students have what they need and the teachers have what they need to do what they need to do inside and out of the classrooms.
Very good. Thank you all so much. With the next question, I'm going to just have you race to the microphone. No, not really. I'm going to start over with Marie on this question. And then we'll move across. So describe an effective school board member.
Effective school board member. Well, we talked about collaboration a little bit ago, but I would say to the group that I currently serve with, we do tend to have some differences at times. I think you have to be able to express yourselves, even though we are a cohesive group. We don't always agree on everything. Definitely don't always agree with Mr. Arnold. I'm just kidding. But no, I think you have to be able to speak up and be effective. You have to give ideas, and you have to listen to other people's ideas. And I believe somebody else here also said that. You have to be open and listen.
Okay, very good. Sarah.
I think there's probably a lot of things that go into being a school board member, and I probably wouldn't know all of them until I'm actually doing it. But I believe that some of that is to make sure that we are experiencing the school district from lots of perspectives. So that means talking to different people, going into different school buildings, attending meetings, participating in different committees, that sort of thing, to hear what's going on, to know what the concerns are from outside just the specific school board meetings. As Marie said, though, it's also important within the meetings to be listening to each other. And it's okay to disagree or to have different ideas, because multiple ideas means that there are multiple perspectives that are being considered instead of, just having, yes men or anything like that. So I think the most important thing is to listen to the people of the community, to stakeholders, and to your fellow school board members.
Very good. Thank you. Kyleen?
I would have to obviously agree with what's been said. All of those things absolutely make an effective school board member. For our school board in particular, what's going to make us effective is going to be to come in and have a clear vision of where we want to go and to hit the ground running. So that is going to be a matter of rebuilding communication, making sure that transparency is there, and that if you have a question, you are not immediately treated as an adversary. It's going to mean actual work to continue to be an effective school board member. And I appreciate all of the work that has been done. This has been a rough 8 or 9 years, and the work that we have done is amazing. However, to be an effective school board member here, we really are going to have to make changes immediately. Thank you.
We'll jump over to Brett at this time. So Brett?
Well, I think most importantly, to be an effective school board member, I think you need to know what the role of the school board is. And I believe many people I've spoken with have talked about policy. You have to be able to set policy, and you have to be attentive to the finances of the corporation. In addition to that, I think that we need to realize that to have an effective board, we have to work through the proper channels. We need to be attentive and open-minded to the community and listen to the needs of not just the community, but our students and our teachers. But we also need to develop policy that takes into account our administration and our principals, because the principals are the correlation between us and the teachers, and they're the ones that are with the students every day. And so I think to be an effective member, we have to be open-minded and communicate properly.
Okay. Jim?
Well, I strongly feel to be a successful school board member, you better be accessible. You better be approachable by the people and be able to discuss with them and listen. That's the key, is listening. If there's one thing in this world today that there's a major problem, it's communication. When I ran back in 2016, the only thing I said, if I'm elected, I will visit every school in our district. I visited every school in our district twice a year since I've been on the school board. Not to see if I can pick up any dirt and what's going on. I wanted to see the facilities. I wanted to talk to the principals. We walked in the classrooms. I wanted to see what the children were doing. I wanted to see what kind of equipment we had. I wanted to hear the feedback from them, what we can do to better the system. So I think you have to be accessible. I've had a listed phone number in the phone book since I came back from the Air Force in 1967, so nobody should have a problem getting a hold of me. And I would look forward to hopefully that continuing the programs that I've instilled in the last 4 years.
Okay. Hey, Jim? Carla?
I don't have anything new to add. I know that one of the biggest things is open lines of communication with the students, with the teachers, with the administration, and then with board members among each other. And clear, transparent, open communication is the most important thing.
So for the last of the 3 questions, I'm just going to jump around different people. And it's a sort of a 2-part question. And that is, what are the weaknesses or gaps in the school district? And what are the strengths from your point of view? Let me go to Sarah first.
think there's a little bit of both. Some of the weaknesses are some populations in the community that feel like they have been overlooked. For instance, several weeks ago, I had a great conversation with the bus drivers union, and they felt that their building had been overlooked and their voice had not been heard. And that's something I hadn't even been aware of. Where would I find that information unless I had talked to them? And so we need to find those people who feel that they have been overlooked and to talk to them. Some strengths, there are a lot of great people in this community that love the community and are dedicated to the school system, and are, just from parents to teachers to students to administrators to school board members, that everybody is just doing whatever we can to make sure that the school system is fantastic.
Thank you. So I'm going to jump to Jim at this point, throw it back to you real fast. And
Well, did I understand the question, Pastor?
I'll repeat the question. What are some of the weaknesses or gaps in the school district, and what are the strengths from your point of view?
Okay. Well, if there's a weakness in the school district, it's probably the fact that we were unable to retain a lot of the teachers because teachers are moving on to other jobs, higher paying jobs in other school systems, number one. And number two, I like the direction the LaPorte school system is now heading in. The communication we have as board members with the administration, with the teachers, I think it can always be improved upon, but it's exceptionally well. And I think we're improving on that every day and trying to keep ahead of it. So I think together, if there's one thing that we could do is have the superintendent, our assistant superintendents, be invited more out into the public, to the Rotary clubs, the Lion clubs, to listen to them and talk about what's going on in the school systems. We are not there to micromanage. We are there to work with them and work with the community. So I think we're making some great strides, but it can always be improved upon.
Okay. Kyleen.
I have to agree that teacher retention is a problem for us. But I've spent the last several years in different roles between being a business owner and a parent, speaking to many teachers in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. And it's really not the pay I hear as much as it is the support that they receive from their building administration, the support that they feel that they receive from the school corporation as a whole. That seems to be where our retention is having a problem at. The toxic positivity that we have created in our school system has hampered what our teachers are being allowed to do. Every day they are asked to go above and beyond for so many different things in so many different areas, and they're constantly being told, but it's not that bad. It could be worse. Instead, I feel that some of the gaps is in some of the special training that we could be offering these teachers to help them with their social emotional skills, with how they're coping. Some of the support that other school corporations have offered both virtually and in person, not only during COVID, but pre-COVID, is something that we need to look at, because that's not dollars and cents. That's partnering with people in our community to offer support to people who educate our children. I know that we employ some of the smartest, most creative minds here in our school system, and I feel that they do need our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Brett.
Well, I think I would prefer to call them more opportunities for improvement. I believe that definitely with teacher retention and pay, that's always a hot button topic. I also believe that we need to work on our technology and upgrade that. The school system, especially in today's times, has to be able to communicate with its students, its administration, its teachers, et cetera, through different means. We have to adapt to the times and be open-minded. And for strengths, I would absolutely think we are in a great financial position. The school board has done a wonderful job in the administration in putting us in that. We've been blessed with building new buildings in schools within our system, and I think that's going to allow us the opportunity to address some of the other areas that we need to in the near future.
Anne Marie.
So I think one of the gaps that we have is it's not really truly a gap, but I think we have a population in our community that we really need to find a way to reach. My family's had a experience over the last year and a half with a foster child that the needs there are immense. And I think there's a lot more children out there in the same boat in our school systems that we need to find a way to reach. So I think that's one of the big opportunities, as Brett would say. As far as our strengths, I think we're like Jim has said, we're headed in the right direction. I think that we have made some great hires. You know, a few years ago, we recruited a principal for our high school after we'd had a long-term principal there at the high school. And we brought somebody home from another community. And that's where once a slicer, always a slicer came from, because we recruited that individual knowing that he would have a loyalty and, you know, the desire to make us better.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna, yes, yep, you get a chance next. Carla?
I want to echo what Marie said regarding reaching some of the students in our school system. My kids go to Lincoln, and there are a lot of kids who don't have the opportunities that a lot of the other students do, and I want to make sure that we reach all those. But I think the biggest strength, I haven't encountered a teacher that has not been fantastic with my kids, and I think we have some real strengths with our teachers.
Thank you, Carl. So, Fran, do you have some additional questions, or do you want me?
I have to gather. So actually, if we're missing anybody that's watching from up there, maybe if we give them, you know, about a 2-minute break, you guys want to have a drink of water and catch your breath. I'll gather up. I'll come down the center aisle and I'll gather up your questions. If you have anything to write down, and I will pass them on to Dennis. We'll sort through so that we don't have duplications. But we certainly appreciate anything that you have on your mind. So I'll be coming down the middle row, or over on this side. Do you have something?
Wait, finish this first. Okay. You go through the rest then. Everybody had a deep breath and ready to go for another set of questions, and I'm going to start with Carla this time. The question is, how can we best prepare our students for the careers of their choice?
I think that, you know, the biggest thing is the students knowing what's out there. I think a lot of times students don't even know what the possibilities are, and they think that they have to go to a 4-year college, or they have to do this or that, but I think exposing them to different career paths, whether it's a vocational school or a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, and just having them, allowing them to have that knowledge, whether it's through test taking or, you know, just skills tests that show them what they're the best at and what they would excel at in their adult life.
Jim?
Well, without a doubt, I would like to see one thing instituted. I had a meeting last week with one of the people from Michigan City. I've spoken to the mayor about it. I think LaPorte needs to build and comprehend their own vocational training school here in LaPorte. We need to find out that everybody's not going to be a teacher, not going to be a lawyer, not going to be a doctor, not going to be a police officer. We need people in the building trades. We need the electricians. We need the carpenters. We need the, you know what? It's time that LaPorte brings that to LaPorte. And with that, with bringing a vocational training academy in LaPorte, taking our students out of Michigan City, and there's going to be a fight over that, bring them here, we can point them in the right direction, have them stay in our own community, and take part of this growth that I see LaPorte on right present time. So, a new vocational training academy, I'm all in favor of, and I hope to lead the charge on that.
Thank you. Brett?
Actually, I'm glad I get to follow Jim on that because I could not agree more with the vocational programs. It's extremely important that we don't forget about the people that are not college bound. I think one of the failures of the last 10 years for the state, not necessarily our community, is the fact that we pushed college-bound curriculum, go to college, and now we have all these people graduating college without jobs, with heavy debt, and it's just an issue that I think we're going to face quickly as a country. My other thought would be that I lost my train of thought because I am so adamant that we need to bring vocational training back to our community. It's extremely important, and I think we also need to push. We can't expect high school freshmen or sophomores to know what career they want to go in when normally when you're in college, I know from my experiences and about everybody else that was in my dorm, you change your major 2 to 3 times while you're in school. We need a better way to help people make those decisions and give them an all-around curriculum to choose from.
Okay. Marie?
I think in this building, I could actually say amen to some of that, right?
Sure.
Okay. No, I think expansion of curriculum, and that's what we've been trying to do over the last few years, is really giving that child an opportunity to see what they want to do. We're actually doing that in middle school now, middle school, intermediate school. They have a lot more choices than they used to have. It's not this box. It's not the same set of books. And that's really the only way that you can continue to help the kids get, whether they're not going to go to college or they're going to college, maybe they want an acting career, maybe they want to play in the band, maybe they want to go to the Navy. It doesn't matter where they want to go. You just want to give them those choices.
Okay.
I would definitely agree with all the other statements about vocational schools that have been stated so far. CTE courses are a great way to do that. Expanding that for sure would be a fantastic opportunity for students. But something else I would also stress are just soft skills and life skills that students need no matter what vocation they need, because those are a lot of skills that a lot of our students are lacking. And so that's something that we can push because not historically, but right now in our country, the average American changes careers 2 to 3 times in their adult life. And so we need to make sure that the students have the soft skills that they need to face whatever transitions and life experiences that they will see no matter what career they go into. So soft skills.
Very good.
Well, I see that Mayor Dermody snuck in back there, and so Mr. Arnold and I will be in to see you soon about the new technical institute here in the city. Because my husband and I absolutely are proof that the Pathways diplomas that Indiana has now created work. I am a late graduate of LaPorte High School. I made some big girl choices that were not so great when I was a teenager and had to go back and make up for that. After making up for that, though, I did receive my CDA in early childhood education through Indiana Workforce Development. My husband is an electrician through the IBEW. We are proof that putting our time, our effort, and our money into these pathways, and I'm not just talking about the welding or the agriculture, I'm talking about the sciences and the arts and all of the other pathways as well. We all have buckets for these pathways, and they are all important to all of our students. We need to protect those, and I feel that we have an opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Good. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an opportunity, whoever feels passionately about a question to get up and respond to it. and allow you also the opportunity, if you don't want to respond to a particular question, you don't have to. So this is going to be a little more freedom in this. So I'm not going to call on anyone specifically, but if you want to get up and this is not a race to the mic, but just a polite way of getting up. So the question that one of the questions, there are a number of questions here, so I don't know whether we'll get through all of them, but the question that I have next is, social media etiquette is important for not only students, but adults. How will you, as a school board member, monitor yourself in the use of social media?
As probably the youngest candidate here today, it's interesting because I was part of the generation where social media became big, and yet now that I've matured, I've almost completely stepped away from social media because I see how it can also have a lot of negative effects. So I'm already very conscious of what I put in social media because it represents not only me, but the school I work for. If I am elected school board, it represents the school board. It represents so many people behind me, and so it's so important to it's better to not post than to post something that out of emotion or something like that, or something that could be considered later. And if we're going to have something for the school board to post, we need to agree and make sure that nothing gets posted unless it's something that is official school board policy, so that way we don't have conflicting messages out there.
Anybody else?
I'll step up here on this one. So, social media is a tool that we must get used to using. In this day and age, being able to post on Facebook, on Twitter, having it streaming on YouTube, reaching our children on Snap or Discord, these are important tools, and we have to be comfortable using them. Facing and acknowledging the good along with the bad and engaging in hard discussions is something that we're going to have to do in order for us to come out of this pandemic stronger than we were before. Even before this pandemic, my family and I, and many of the families that are up here, we're running around like crazy, and there has been more than one time that I have been sitting at the softball field watching the school board meeting streaming on YouTube. I want to be active, I want to be involved, and I want to be engaged, but I also need to be on the softball field for 20 hours a week with my daughter. So in order for me to do both, I have to be comfortable using social media in order to stay informed. So I don't dismiss that use, and I do feel that it is an important way for us to reach a broad audience. Thank you.
Anybody else want to respond to that? Otherwise, we will move on. Sorry, I was busy posting something, so. So the next question, again, your choice, your call. What is your opinion on diversity instruction / teaching in grades K through 12? And what content would be acceptable and should parents be informed in writing before such diversity instruction is approved by the school board? A lot of stuff in that question.
Was the question, do we think you ought to have diversity included in the school system?
Yes, well, really, two questions embedded there. What's your opinion of diversity instruction teaching in K through 12? And, what content would be acceptable, and should parents be informed?
Okay. Well, absolutely. We're living in a diverse world right now, and diversity is one of the problems that we're all facing. I would be very careful about it, though, because the diversity that the kids are picking at home, when kids come to school, what they're doing is an extension of what they pick up at home, or what they learn at home. And that's what the teachers have to deal with. And you know what? Diversity is a great thing. I think we need to make sure that the kids understand it. We ought to probably have it somewhere entered into our school system as a course somewhere, or make sure that it's throughout the school system that it's taught. But I also think that we need to be very careful about how we teach this, because too many of these kids are coming to school using words and attitudes that have nothing to do, they're not taught in school. They're bringing it from their homes. And that's the problem, is reaching the parents at home.
Anybody else want to address that? It's a difficult question, and I think an important question, but I think that there's a lot of content in how that's been asked. Okay, if not, I'll move on to the next one. At the elementary level, many Hispanic parents don't engage in the education of their kids. How do we get this population group engaged?
Last year, we employed Mario Rosa, and he has been a godsend to our community. He is working right now with so many of our Hispanic families, trying to get them involved. Last year at Lincoln Elementary School, their PTA meetings were rocking after he came in and started working with some of the parents. Engaging this population is what we need to do. It's not their responsibility. It is our responsibility. They're part of our community. And we definitely do need to do a better job of reaching out to them. I believe that Mario is taking the step in the right direction, but I think that it's going to take us a while to get all of us into a state of mind where we have to understand that we're going to have to start delivering our message in many different ways so that everyone understands us. Thank you.
Who else would like to address that? Sarah?
I would like to thank you for your comments, and I would agree with all of them. Sorry. And would just like to add that it's very important for all resources and announcements and anything that we provide to the public, we should also include Spanish language versions of those things so that those families have the same resources that our English families, speaking families have. So that way they are not at a disadvantage and they can't say, I didn't understand what was going on because I didn't have it in my language. My parents are immigrants, not Spanish speaking, Romanian speaking, and they had to learn English because there was no other way to interact with other people in this country. But if there is a way for us to get that population the resources they need in their own language, we can really engage them better.
Marie?
Just very briefly, I think both questions, integrating both questions, I think with the curriculum, teaching and including all of those things within each curriculum is probably the best way to approach it, so that all of the children at the same time feel included. And I know that my own grandkids have various things within their math courses, their English courses, and also their history courses that speak to diversity and the Hispanic population. So, in fact, they love speaking Spanish, so they have flashcards all the time. So I think just being inclusive within all the curriculum is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, I think both of those questions we're asking, in a sense, how to get parents involved, whether they're Hispanic or English speaking. So that's embedded in both of those questions. Brett, you were going to say something.
Yeah, actually, I do agree. I kind of think both questions tie together. And being raised in LaPorte and going to school here my entire life, my elementary school that I went to closed, and we were relocated to another school, the old Washington School in Pole Town, so to speak. And the diversity of our class and our students in that school, it was very diverse, I guess would be the best way to put it. We had different ethnic backgrounds. We had people that couldn't speak English, could only speak Polish, could only speak Spanish. It was complicated, but it worked. I think it's important that we teach diversity within the school, but I also think that comes back to when we talk about community being part of our education system as well. Our students are part of our community, our parents are part of our community. As our community as a whole becomes more inclusive, that problem will solve itself as we go through this as well.
So this next question, Sarah, anybody else wanted to respond to that? Okay. So this next question is sort of just a quick answer. So I'm just going to have you, those of you who are on the school board, how many meetings have you attended in the last year? So,
All of them.
okay. Jim?
Since I've been on the board, I missed one. I had knee surgery, and I tried to get back for the meeting, and the doctor kept me overnight, so I only missed one.
Slacker. And then, so that's a question. We can't ask those who are running for school board, but here's an actual practical question that might be related to your vision for things, and that is, what do you envision with the 35 acres at A and 18th Streets? So I don't know much about that myself.
Ladies first, President.
So this is open to all of you if you'd like to address it. But you want to start with Marie, since he offered it to you.
Well, in all actuality, we don't really have a vision for that property at this point. We've had facility studies that have been done, and we're open to what's going to be there. The opportunity to get that property so close to the school, and those individuals that sold the property to the school system wanted it to be related to the school. They didn't want it to be a subdivision. They didn't want it to be something else. So we're very open to what it might be.
Okay, Jim?
Well, I agree with my president there. We're open right now. I think the problem is that when this first came out, people thought we were going to build a transportation garage out there, and the southern part of the city got in an uproar. That has not been discussed. We've talked about what's going to go out there, what we can do, but that's so far down the line right now. We just finished a facility study of every facility owned by the school corporation. We have some things that have to be done prior to that, but the 35 acres that was purchased out there was a stipulation. It had to remain with the educational facilities. So something will probably go out there eventually, but I couldn't tell you what. But I think that'd be a beautiful thing, and I brought this up last week. I think it'd be a beautiful place to put a vocational training academy out there, so, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to address that? Okay. So this next question is maybe for those of you who are running, important as well as those of you who have served on the school board. What kind of focus groups or open town meetings have you participated in during the last few years? I think they're looking for, what kind of connection have you made in some of the different groups in town to inform you about the school corporation?
I have been an active member of PTA and PTOs, obviously, here in LaPorte for 9 years. I also served on the Guiding All Kids Steering Committee through Boston Middle School 2 years ago. That focuses on our social emotional learning curriculum in our school system. I am currently on the LaPorte County Childhood Task Force that is being ran through Goodwill Industries. We are looking at expanding childcare throughout the community and how we can better serve some of our populations that have childcare needs that are off-shift needs. I am also currently a member of the LaPorte Parks and Rec Board. I attended the Heart of LaPorte and what was the other initiative? There was a couple other initiatives that were coming up these last couple of years, and I participated in those as well. To focus on some of the things that we need to bring to our community to better serve our youth.
Okay.
Let's see, besides being the president of the school board, currently serve on the board of directors for the LaPorte County Library. Also work with the LOK Wishing Tree Foundation, which does education on carbon monoxide and house a lot of carbon monoxide detectors at our farm. I've also worked with the YMCA over the years in raising funds for them and also serving on their board as well.
I'd just like to say that I was honored by Governor Holcomb, who appointed me to the NICD board, which is the South Shore Board. So I've been very active in that since the 1st of January, representing LaPorte County, especially with double tracking in the Westlake Corridor already kicked into high gear. I'm also appointed by the Secretary of State Connie Lawson to the Motor Vehicle Advisory Board, and I've been serving on that for the last 6 years now, including my time in Senate. And I also am on the board of directors of Channel 26 South Bend, which is public broadcasting, which I'm very proud of because we were just voted the top educational station in the area, so Channel 26. So I've tried to stay as active as I can. I try to attend meetings if the mayor, our state representative Jim Pressel, who's here, Coach Cunningham over here has meetings with periodically with the school teachers. I try to stay as active as I can and as visible as I can in the community so that people have an opportunity to talk to me.
Through being active with the Rotary Club, we've been involved with the updates from Superintendent Francisconi. We've also been involved with the Learn Today to Excel program at the high school. We've been involved with the Rotaract Club, or the Interact Club at the high school through the Rotary Club. I've also been involved with the Play for Jake Foundation that does a lot of work with heart screenings for the schools in our area. I graduated from the Leadership LaPorte County this past year, where we did a tour of all the schools in the county, including New Prairie, LaPorte, South Central, Michigan City. As Representative Pressel could attest to, we even had a government day where education was a big part of the topic for question and answer period. And also been active through the Park Foundation as an employee of the LaPorte, been active with the Vibrant Communities discussion, as well as other things throughout the community.
I'm not active on boards here in LaPorte. I attend as many community functions and, related to schools and parks as I can, just to keep myself informed of what is going on. But I don't serve on any boards currently.
So one of the things that this next question you've all touched on teacher retention already. But I think the question that they're asking is, have we done anything in conjunction with other corporations or studied other school districts in order to help solve that problem? So I think maybe that's a chance for all of you to respond once more to the idea of teacher retention and how competitive we are and what you might do about that.
I have the unique opportunity to have not only worked in LaPorte schools, but I also currently work in a different school district. I work in South Bend. And so I get to see and compare and contrast things that are being done better here, things that are being done better there. And so that would give me a great opportunity to say, hey, I see some great things happening in South Bend. Let's try them here, or let's tweak them, or something like that. For instance, they hired my position, a digital integration specialist, several years ago, one for every single school. So that way the teachers there had someone in the building that developed relationships with them that they knew they could go to for the instructional support in incorporating those Chromebooks when we went to one-to-one. That's just one example of some of the many ideas that South Bend has done that we could definitely bring in here, and I'm definitely open to learning what some other school system has done as well, and seeing what can we do here too.
If you have ideas,
This is my last one.
Want to hear 'em?
We'll get up again. Absolutely, every year when we do our budget, or every year we get presented, when we're talking about meeting with the unions and talking about pay raises, they give us a chart of all the area schools, what the teachers make and so forth. And we would love to move our teachers up and give them the highest paid in the area if we could. But unfortunately, it relies on the money you have. You can't give raises with the money you don't have. 2 years ago, last year, 2019, we couldn't afford a pay raise at that time, and you know what? And we had to wait and see how much property tax we're going to have when our bills were paid. Our teachers didn't complain a bit. We never heard any problem. And fortunately, we were able to give a $3,000 pay raise across the board. And that shows the respect that the teachers had for our job, understanding the problem that we had. So we do monitor the other schools and look what they're paying and so forth. But unfortunately, a lot of our income, it depends on what happens downstate. Isn't that right, Representative Pressel? Thank you.
That was a question to him, but he doesn't get to answer.
So Jim's correct. We do have to monitor the dollars and cents. You know, you have really three big responsibilities as a school board member. You know, you have to monitor money. You also have to create policies or support policies within the school corporation. And then the other thing you do is you have to hire a good leader. And you're responsible for making sure that leader's following through. One of the things that we do on the school board is we're always asking, well, what's the other schools doing? And we don't just mean locally. I mean, the money is, we look at locally, but when we look at the Performing Arts Center, we looked elsewhere. When we looked at the big middle school, the intermediate school, we looked elsewhere. What other school corporations are doing? So you're always constantly doing that.
So one final question. Everybody feels like the athletic facilities in LaPorte are excellent quality. Do all of you pledge to keep those facilities excellent? We're all wishing we all want sports back right now. We're missing some of those things, and they're all kind of virtually difficult to participate in. And so I guess they're looking for a pledge from you on that.
Okay, I have to stand up first, I guess. I don't know that everyone knows this in the audience, but my husband is the athletic director at LaPorte High School. So I guess I would have to pledge that we would do the best we could to keep and maintain. Or I might not be married. I don't know. Just a thought.
You happy you're home tonight?
That's right. Exactly. No, I think that we've done a great job on the board looking at all the facilities, and I think we'll continue to do that.
I think this was to all of you, so I'm gonna look for a response from everybody.
I mean, as far as it goes, yes. My kids love sports. They're playing Pop Warner right now, and as they get older, I hope that the fantastic facilities are still there. So I support athletics as well.
For sure, athletics are definitely a great way for students to become more well-rounded, to get that social interaction with other students that they need. And beyond the athletics, it's also, you know, performing arts, music, band, orchestra, all of those things, theater, all those things need to be supported. We don't want to let those things, you know, fall to the wayside while we're, you know, paying attention to something else. You know, we want to make sure we're continuing to support the well-rounded students of our community.
Would absolutely support continuing the great facilities that we have for athletics. I can remember playing football back in the day, and we had a field that was so bad they actually moved our sectional game out of town because they wanted to make sure that the field would be good enough for the next game when we won, and of course we did not win and never got to play again at Kiwanis Field. So from a personal standpoint, I cannot fathom letting our facilities go anywhere but up. Thank you.
Well, what can I say? I'm from Michigan City, and I went to the LaPorte Michigan City game last week. But Michigan City Red Devils are no more. I'm a LaPorte slicer through and through. Absolutely, I definitely support extracurricular activities. In fact, if LaPorte would stop to think, we have an athletic director that made the #1 athletic director in the state just last year in Ed Gilliland. We have a former football coach in Coach Schellinger that is inducted into the Football Coaches Hall of Fame and the Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame. I think that shows the quality of support and programs we have in LaPorte, and that's kudos to them. And not only sports, but all the extracurricular activities. And I can't name all of them, but we are a big supporter of them. And with the new Performing Arts Center that just finished up last year, I think that LaPorte should be very proud of the strides that we've made.
Great to have a reformed Red Devil in here. So,
Let's not forget Coach Schreiber was a Red Devil also.
me, and I can't imagine any reason why I wouldn't pledge to keep our facilities the best that they possibly can be. We have great facilities at the Kessling complex, as well as some of our tracks and our tennis courts. So, we're proud Slicers, and I imagine all of us are looking forward to seeing all of our athletes succeed in the future.
Well, thank you all very much for not making my job difficult. I just recently saw a program on television where two people were debating, and it was a real challenge to watch it, so this seems quite tame, and thank you for that. So I'll turn it over to Fran to close this off.
Would you all join me in saying a thank you to all of these fine folk who have stood up to say, we care? Well, she just started to leave. Per Jim's request, if any of you would like to talk to somebody about career connections and talent, Blair Milo is in the house, secretary.
Usually she's sitting in the balcony when I've seen her, but...
And I do want to note that she came in on time, which was pretty awesome, too. So I had no idea what kind of turnout we would have. I applaud all of you. We have done this socially distant. Everybody has been very patient, very considerate. It has been a respectful audience. My sincere thanks to Pastor Dennis for being a wonderful moderator this evening. Thank you very much. And Mary, it was seamless. It was just perfect. So all I can say is you got the gig 100% whenever it happens again. And again, much thanks to Carrie Garwood for all that she did. We're happy the media is here this evening. Thank you. And for those of you who want to spread the word to others, this forum will be up on social media. Since that was one of the questions, here's one of the benefits. And they can listen at their leisure for what was all said here this evening, and they too can take advantage of being informed. So I wish you all good night. I wish you to be well, and don't forget to vote. Thank you.